In February of 2022, I woke up and I had severe right-sided abdominal pain, and I thought, oh no, I need to go to the hospital. I need to get this checked out. It could be an appendicitis. I go to the hospital. They do an ultrasound and find out I have a 5 centimeter ovarian cyst. You might think, hooray, ovarian cyst. I was like, oh, not a ovarian cyst. I nearly started crying in the emergency department. If you don't know my history, I have endometriosis, and previously I had an ovarian cyst, which started out very small, and very quickly it expanded, it grew until it ruptured, causing sepsis and organ failure. Good times. So when I found out that I had this ovarian cyst, I was like, okay, I need to get somebody to take this cyst out because it's going to grow quickly and cause a lot of havoc. So much fun. Long story short, no one took me seriously. They're like, it's only 5 centimeters. Then a couple weeks later, it's only 7 centimeters. A couple weeks later, it's 9 centimeters. It's getting kind of large. Anyways, I finally was able to find a doctor. There was a long, drawn-out process with that. I was supposed to have the procedure in August, and praise be God, it got moved up to June. When I had the ovarian cyst taken out, it was actually 14 centimeters, so it was quite large, causing a lot of pain and just total misery. Going into the surgery, it was a total run because, like I said, it was supposed to be in August. It got bumped up to June. Lots of last minute things. I literally was just days before the procedure trying to get medical clearance and trying to figure out where I need to go for this surgery. This surgery was going to be happening about 5.5, 6 hours away from me, and I needed to find out how to get to that location because I'd never been to that city before. Good times. So I was off on my little journey to the medical center. I was going to be staying the night in a hotel, and then bright and early the next day, I was going to be getting up and going to the hospital for the surgery. Driving in the car without my heated humidifier running really dehydrates my airways. When you're breathing cold, dry air, the mucus in your lungs, which should be nice and hydrated and loose and fluid, becomes very thick, very sticky, and it just loves to make havoc. When I got to the hotel, I could feel that my lungs were very congested. I ran 5 milliliters of saline through my nebulizer. I inhaled the mist in the nebulizer, and that loosened up the mucus in my airways. Usually running the nebulizer one time is good enough. However, from being in the car for such a prolonged time without being on my heated humidifier, my lungs were very dehydrated. I really needed to run my nebulizer another time because I could feel there was still mucus in my airway, and I could tell my tracheostomy tube was not completely cleared. I should have, and I will apologize because I should have. I knew this. I should have run my nebulizer another time, but I was so exhausted. I had a busy week trying to prepare to go to surgery, and then we had to drive up there, and we had to figure out where this location was in the hotel, and I was really tired. And plus, I had to do a bowel preparation for this. So, pooping on the highway, good times. So when I got to the hotel, I was just so exhausted, and I needed to be up early. I had to be up at 4 a.m. to get to the hospital and get checked in. So here I was, like really tired and just thinking, well, my airways aren't totally clear, but I'm going to have my surgery first thing in the morning. After the procedure, I'm going to wake up from the anesthesia. They're going to keep me a couple hours to monitor me to make sure I'm okay. Then they're going to kick me out those front doors. I'm going to jump in the car, and we're going to drive home, and I'm going to get in my bed and be like, oh, hallelujah, I love you, bed. And then I can run my nebulizer and clear out my airways. That is how I thought everything was going to work out. But like all good plans, they don't work. So the next morning I get up, it's so early, and we get to the hospital. I am there before 5 a.m. and I check in. I am wheeled off to the pre-op area, and I think everything is golden. All right, we're going to get this procedure going. Not so fast. There were a lot of issues. The anesthesiologist did not like that I had mitochondrial disease. She kind of flipped out, and my procedure got delayed. And I was like, come on, people, let's do this. Let's do this. My airways aren't real clear, but we just have to have that little procedure, and then I can clear my airways out. Anyways, the procedure finally happened. Hallelujah. 9:30 in the morning. At 12:30, 3 hours later, there I was coming out of the procedure room, and they were going to wheel me up to the intensive care unit. And I was like, hey, why are we going up there to the intensive care unit? And they told me, because you have mitochondrial disease, we're concerned you're going to decompensate. So we're going to put you in the ICU for 24 hours. And I'm like, no, it's not going to work out so well. So there I was in the intensive care unit. Oh, good times. Well, I did not have access to my nebulizer. I was in bed and I'm like, okay, my airways are really congested. Nurse, can you get me one of those suction catheters? If you don't know anything about tracheostomy tubes, there is an alternative way to clear out a tracheostomy tube. You can insert a suction catheter into your airway, apply suction, and suction out all that goo in your airways. It should work, but it never works for me. I have really, really thick mucus, and it doesn't matter how much I suction, it just stays there. So there I am, trying to suction, and I'm just getting very little out, and I'm going, this is futile. I'm gonna just give up. And tried to sleep. I sleep a little bit through the night. I'm in so much pain. The next morning, all that anesthesia has worn off, and I am in so much pain. I'm like, I can't move. Thankfully, they did finally release me from the intensive care unit approximately 24 hours after they put me in the intensive care unit. Now it was time to go home. And what we did not know is my gastrointestinal tract had shut down. And you say, so what? Well, during this procedure, they pump me up with carbon dioxide. And the way you get rid of that carbon dioxide is it goes back into your intestines and you have a little party. Gas. Exciting. Anyways, you're supposed to just release it through flatulence, but my intestines had shut down. So none of that gas was escaping. I was just bloated. I had all this gas and I was in excruciating pain. I've never been in so much pain in all my life. I was just crying. We only got about 45 minutes away from the medical center, and I was like, Mama, I can't do this. I can't do this. We've got to stop, Mama. I can't do this. So praise be to God, my mom found a hotel, and we stopped. They even gave us a discount. Good job, Best Western. I will give you a shout out. Good job. Thanks for giving us a discount. We appreciated that. We go to the hotel, and I'm just in so much pain. I lay down on the bed. I'm like, I can't move. I couldn't. I was like, I'm just going to lay here. Just don't bother me. I can't move. My mom says to me, don't you think you better run your nebulizer? Don't you think you should clear out your airways? And I'm like, I can't move, Mama. They'll be fine, Mama. I can't move. I heard so badly, Mama. She's like, okay, well, I really think you should run your nebulizer. Always listen to your mother. She knows. I should have. But anyways, I did not. And finally, I got to sleep. About 1 o'clock in the morning, I abruptly woke up. My tracheostomy tube was completely clogged with mucus. When this happens, air from my ventilator, which is high pressure, is able to be forced down into my lungs. However, exhalation, which is passive, cannot exhale through my tracheostomy tube because it cannot get through the clogged tracheostomy tube. So with each breath, more and more air was being forced down into my airways, down into my lungs, and I could not exhale. One thing to note is I do have what's called a cuff on my tracheostomy tube. By using a syringe, you can inflate the cuff on the tracheostomy tube. This expands and creates a sealed circuit in the airway. You do this whenever you have a ventilator to get full ventilatory support from your ventilator. Because I have respiratory failure at night, I absolutely must close off the airway, inflate the cuff on my tracheostomy tube to create that sealed circuit so I can rest, relax, and have the ventilator breathe for me. With that being said, when that cuff is inflated, you cannot breathe around the cuff. All air is coming and going by the tracheostomy tube. Also, because that cuff is inflated, you cannot get air up around the cuff and through your vocal cords. So with the cuff inflated, I cannot speak. So here I was, 1 o'clock in the morning. I could not call for help. I could not scream to my mom, who was just a short distance away in the other bed. I couldn't be like, Mama, Mama, I can't breathe. I couldn't say anything. I couldn't exhale. And furthermore, I had so much abdominal pain. I was like, oh, I need to find my syringe. If I could find my syringe, I could deflate the cuff on my tracheostomy tube. Then I could breathe around the tracheostomy tube and I could at least exhale, which if I could exhale, that would save my life. So here I am in the dark, desperately trying to find my syringe. I am looking and just feeling around on the bed going, okay, where is it? Where is it? And remember, with each breath, it's getting more and more difficult because more and more air is being pushed down into my airways. My anxiety is going through the roof. And I'm just thinking, oh Lord, I'm going to die. I can't find my syringe. If I cannot deflate the cuff on my tracheostomy tube, I am going to die. Please, Lord, please. I need to find that syringe. Please, please help me. This is a little bit funny. I know I'm dramatic at the moment, but it's kind of funny. But I thought, no, I have that channel, Life with Event, Lord. This would be the stupidest ending to this channel if I, Life with Event, die because my tracheostomy tube is clogged with mucus. Please, please help me. I need to find the syringe. Supernatural forces. I can't even explain it. I'm in bed, just in a total, complete amount of pain. All of a sudden, I feel like I am just lifted into the seating position. Absolutely no effort on my part, no pain. Once I'm upright, I can feel the bed better. I'm just like, where is it? Where is it? I find the syringe. I immediately put the syringe onto my tracheostomy cuff and pull down as hard as I can. When I pull down, this releases the air from the cuff on my tracheostomy tube. This immediately deflates the cuff, allows me to breathe around the tracheostomy tube. I can now breathe. I am in no longer imminent danger of dying. I'm just sobbing. I just cannot believe what just happened. I was so close. I was on the verge of blacking out. If I would have blacked out, game over. My mom was sleeping. She would not have known. She would not have known what was happening to me. There would have been no way I would have survived that. Praise be to God. Just at the exact moment, I was able to deflate my cuff, breathe, and just regain my faculties and just breathe around that clog in my tracheostomy tube. Because of all the commotion and because I was breathing so heavily after deflating my cuff, because remember, I had all that air, so I was just trying to get all that air out of my lungs. My mom did wake up from all that commotion, and she's like, what's wrong? What's wrong? And I'm like, my airway's clogged. It's hard to breathe. She's like, run your nebulizer. I was like, Mama, it's 1 o'clock in the morning. It's really loud. My nebulizer is really loud. I don't want to wake you up. And she's like, just run it, honey, run it. So now I'm trying to get my nebulizer. And remember, I had that burst of being lifted up into the seated position without any pain. The pain had now returned. So I'm trying to get it to my nebulizer, and I'm just crying from all the pain from the surgery. I get my nebulizer all hooked up. I start running it. And I just feel this mucus trying so hard to get out of my tracheostomy tube. Finally, some of it comes out, big glob of mucus. I was like, oh my goodness. But wait, there's more. There's just more and more mucus. I had to run my nebulizer 2 times. So I had to run 10 milliliters total of saline through my nebulizer to get all that mucus out. There was just so much mucus. I truly believe my tracheostomy tube from the tip all the way down to the other tip was completely clogged with mucus. In all my years of having a tracheostomy tube, I have never coughed up that much mucus. It was just packed with mucus. It really, truly is a miracle that I was able to find my syringe and was able to get upright and just able to deflate the cuff on my tracheostomy tube. I cannot tell you how frantic and how close to death I was. I truly thought that night I was going to die. I just thought, this is it. I'm gonna die. I can't get the cuff of my tracheostomy tube deflated. But thankfully, I do believe God intervened, lifted me up, and then I was able to find the syringe and deflate my cuff. After I was able to get my tracheostomy tube clear to the mucus, I was able to inflate my cuff again and go back to sleep. A funny side note is here this nebulizer, which does make a significant amount of noise. If you know what an air compressor sounds like, that is what the nebulizer sounds like, just like an air compressor. Very, very noisy. Basically, I just got my nebulizer set up. My mom falls asleep and she sleeps through my entire nebulization session, which I thought was a little bit funny, but I guess she was really tired just from being up the previous day, getting me to the hospital so early and then picking me up and driving, and she had a long day too. So that is my miracle story about the night I nearly died from a clogged tracheostomy tube. And you might say, what do you do now? Well, I still always sleep with a syringe, and now I try to have a couple of them around. And then also, one thing I have learned is when you inflate the cuff on your tracheostomy tube, there's a couple different levels you can inflate it to. You can put in the full amount to completely inflate the balloon on the tracheostomy tube and completely create a sealed circuit. And that is wonderful, really wonderful. But if you don't inflate it all the way, it'll still create a sealed circuit, but the balloon is not fully inflated. And you say, why does that matter? Because if you do get a clog in your tracheostomy tube and you cannot find your syringe with the balloon on the tracheostomy tube not completely expanded, just expanded but still pliable, then you can move the tracheostomy tube over in your throat and then press the balloon up against the side of the trachea. This will allow some air to get around the tracheostomy tube, and you can basically save your life if you can't find your syringe. So now that's what I do. I do not completely inflate the cuff on my tracheostomy tube. I do allow for some flexibility on that balloon. So if heaven forbid anything like this ever happens again and I can't find my syringe and I get a clogged tracheostomy tube, I can just move my tracheostomy tube to the side and breathe around the inflated cuff on my tracheostomy tube. So that's just a little tip on how to avoid disasters. So thank you so much for joining me. Please remember to like and subscribe down below. Please also remember to comment and share. It really helps my YouTube channel. I hope you have a great day and a wonderful week. Bye-bye.